Hello all, so we're going to do another video for you today. We thought we would start with one of our new releases that we've done on Create & Craft this week, or sorry, last week now. So here's what we're going to be using. So we're going to be using our One Day at a Time stamp set, Distress Oxides in various colours, and our crystal clear embossing powder. Let's take a closer look here. So we have our One Day at a Time stamp set. So you get the very large stamp in the middle here. This is a £12.99 set, so this gives you a rough idea. This is roughly 5.5 inches long. We get the two clock hands, the large and the small. You get you butterfly, and the sentiment says, one day at a time is all you have to do. We're also going to be using Distress Oxides in various colours, the crystal clear embossing powder, Versamark ink, our sticky glue in the two sizes, so we've got 120mm and 30mm. We're also using our blending brushes, and we've also got the Versaclair in medieval blue. Just pop back to these blending brushes for a moment. We sell them in two different ways. We have them with or without the caps. At the moment our with caps are out of stock, but they are going to be back in as soon as we can. And just to let you know that with these brushes, I have a set that I use only with my Distress Oxides. I have a set for my Versaclair. I have a set for my Distress inks. I don't mix the lots together, but it doesn't necessarily mean I have a different brush for every colour. So I'll use a pinks brush, I've got a greens brush, an orange red brush, a yellow brush, purple brush, blues brush, get the drift. And all I need to do is wipe them off on some kitchen paper as I'm going along if I want to change the colours. So the colours we're using in Oxides today are Wiletd Violet, Kitsch Flamingo, which is the brand new Distress Oxide from Tim Holtz, or sorry, from Ranger. This one I believe is still available just on our website, but it will be back in stock on pre-order by, fingers crossed, the middle to the end of next week. We're hoping for the middle of the week, but we've got some snow due to arrive, I believe. So we've got picked raspberry, carved pumpkin, mustard seed, twisted citron, and peacock feathers. Crystal clear Versamark ink. I think that's everything. So let's get started. So this is actually a demonstration that I did on Create & Craft during last week now, my goodness, time flies. And we were asked by so many people if I could do a video of this one, so I'm just going to give us some space here to get everything out and show you. So we will start with our card sizes. So we have an 8x8 card. As you know, my 8x8s are slightly less than 8x8 because the envelope is 8x8. I have another piece of paper which is no particular size, it's just an offcut because I want to be able to do my butterfly and my sentiment on here, so you don't need a big piece of offcut. I just grabbed a piece that I had. We have a piece of black cardstock, 7x7. Wow, that went bright all of a sudden, didn't it? Sorry, we'll put the white back down and it'll dull it down. Oh, look at that, my goodness. Taking a few moments to focus for us, but we'll get there. We have two pieces of white cardstock. One is 6x6 and one is 6 1/8 by 6 1/8. I know you hate me for that 1/8, but it makes a big difference to this finished card. And it literally is just the tiniest edge around there, look, you can see. But you do need to do it, because as I say, you'll see when we make the card what I mean. Now this is actually a technique I saw on YouTube, hadn't seen it for years, completely forgot about it, and I just loved it. Thought, why haven't I done that before? Now again, it's an oldie and a greatie. So we're gonna show you how to do this one. Just get myself organised here. So it is so simple. It's a resist technique, and everybody seems to forget how easy some of these are. So I'm just going to lift all my lids off because I'll be flitting backwards and forwards, knowing me. So if I just get all the lids off to start with, it makes my life a little bit easier. Look at that new Kitsch. Kitsch Flamingo, baby pink. Love it. Right, so we're just going to grab some of our brushes here. We'll go with the blue first. And we're just going to load. Now my peacock feathers is getting a little bit dry, so I have just got a re-inker arriving. And we're just going to randomly brush this over here. And depends on how heavy you want the image to come through on it. I mean, if you just want a light touch, then just pop a little bit on there. You don't need to go crazy. All I will say is we're going to be using predominantly the centre of this image. So I really want to get a combination of all the colours I'm using on the card within that image. So just be conscious of that as you're doing it. I told you we're a little bit dry on this one, so bear with me. Once we get to the other colours, we'll be whizzing. So I said we've got some snow due to come in today. I believe it starts this evening, and anybody that's not watching this in England, England comes to a little bit of a halt when we get snow. We don't cope with it very well, so it's a big thing. Now it does entirely up to you. You don't have to do circles, you can do stripes, you can do whatever you want with this. Just get the colour down. As I keep telling you, this is particularly dry, and I'm very cross with myself for not having sorted out the re-inker sooner, because it's a colour I really love and use an awful lot, so it should be something that I should have in my stash anyway. Sometimes I think I should have just bought myself a new one. Right, so we've got the that's our peacock feathers down, and look, I've managed to remember to re-ink the green. This will now going to go on really heavy next to this blue, so we'll be a bit cautious. Oh, not as heavy as I thought. I obviously wasn't that heavy-handed. So remember what I said, try and remember to get some of each of the colour in that middle section of the card, and you're just building it up. The rest of it you're not going to see huge amounts of. I am just going to nip back. See, I told you I'd flip between the two because I want that to be slightly more concentrated in the middle there. So back to our green. So this is our twisted citron. I'll grab just a little bit more of that because we're getting a bit circly. I don't want too many circles on mine. It's very tempting to just do that, and I don't want it. Right, so grab our yellows brush. This one's quite a dramatic colour because my mustard seed seems to go on forever. I never re-ink it. I use it loads, and it just seems to be one of those colours that just keeps giving. So you're randomly building all the colours up, as you can see. We'll grab some orange on there. Now once you've done all of these colours, you do need to leave them to dry. Not very long, just go make yourself a cup of tea or something like that. It doesn't need to be for too long at all. Just make sure that it's really dry before you come to the next stage. Here we go, look, the beautiful Kitsch Flamingo. Look at that. How yummy is that pink? It's a proper pink, isn't it? And you all know what I'm like about pink. Got to have a bit of pink in my life. So we'll pop some Flamingo on, and we've got the picked raspberry, which is again one of my favourites. And we've also got to pop in some purple. So this is our wilted violet. And we're just going to keep building that up, randomly placing. And as you all know, random's actually one of the hardest things for me to do. And we're going to end up with hopefully something that looks a little bit like this. Doesn't look particularly pretty at the moment, I know, but it's coming, I promise, it's coming. I'm just going to pop that out of the way because obviously you've seen me build up most of that, but it just gives you the idea about the colours. Sorry, let's get these out of the way because they're just going to get in the way now. Now, as I said before, I had a scrap piece here. While all my inks were out, I would build sort of a section of this up too, and that would be to make our butterflies and our sentiments. I have done those ahead of time. I would do exactly the same as I've done here, but just on a section of this. And you'll see as we've gone along what we're going to do with this. I just didn't want you to think I'd completely forgotten about that random piece of paper and not coloured it. There is a reason. I'm trying to keep my videos a little bit shorter than they were getting because I know they're not always the most interesting. It's not the most interesting watching me put colour down on a piece of white cardstock, is it? So this is just the super smooth cardstock that you can get on our website. We were asked loads about about the papers we use because everybody said we get fabulous stamping. It's actually a really amazing, super smooth cardstock. So we have our stamp on our block. We're going to take Versamark ink. It's a huge stamp, so make sure you put plenty of ink on. And if you're using a stamping press, I would recommend that you stand up to stamp this stamp. I know it's not the easiest for everybody to be able to do that, but if you can, it's a very big stamp, so we would recommend that you do stand up to do it. So we're nearly there. Plenty of ink. Now remember, you've had to let this coloured piece of cardstock dry, and it will make sense in a minute. So we're just going to place this, and you'll be thinking, you're putting clear ink on a piece of coloured paper. That's not the most exciting in the world, but it will be. Spend the time pressing this stamp down. I don't know if you noticed, but I've even stood up for this one. It's a big stamp. Where there's more solid stamp, just press around that area a little bit. And then we're going to peel that off there, slowly but surely, and pop that off to one side. We're then going to take the crystal clear embossing powder. I need to get a mat that's not going to keep spinning on me. It drives me insane seeing it on the screen when it's all on the squiffy. And we're going to put the crystal clear embossing powder over the top of this. As I said to you, this is a resist technique, so it will come to fruition in a moment. Just pop that powder back in there and pop that all out of the way. And we're then going to heat this, and as you know, I do heat from the bottom when I'm heating on crystal clear embossing powder. Not always so much when I'm doing it onto Versamark, but definitely if I'm using clear. So this is just going to take a minute or two. I'm not clever enough or technically minded enough to know how to shuffle this through faster, so I'm afraid you're going to have to watch me heat this. So bear with me 2 minutes. Hopefully not quite that long. So we're just getting the heat gun really hot, and I'm just going to, if I heat from underneath, you might be able to see some of it happen. From underneath, you don't get anywhere near as good an impression when you heat from on top, and that will really show through when it takes a few minutes, a minute longer to do it. It's a large stamp, so it takes a little while anyway. Hoping you can still hear me over the top of this loud heat gun. We have 2 speeds on this heat gun, but I tend to just use predominantly the hotter heat speed, faster speed, I suppose it affects the heat hugely. But I want as smooth a finish as I can get, and by heating from underneath it does give you a smoother finish with this particular technique. Mind your fingers when you do it from underneath as well. It gets very hot under that paper. I was going to have one ready for you, but I completely forgot that stage of it. So we now have one heated resist, and I don't know how well that's showing up. You can roughly see that on there. So we're now going to place this down on the mat. We're going to take our Versaclair. Now you can do this with any dark colour. If you're doing it with browns, maybe a really dark brown would work. If you're doing it with greys and blacks, a black works fabulously, but I just actually quite like the navy blue, because I do use a lot of wear a lot of navy blue. If somebody said to me what's your favourite colour, I would probably say blue, although you would all probably think it would be pink. But most of my wardrobe is pink or navy blue. So we're wrapping it all into one here. So as I said, it's a resist technique. And I quite like the fact that with the Versaclair you still get some of the hue of the colour from underneath come through, although it's solid here. It'll make, you can see what I mean. You still get a little bit of whatever colour is under there coming through. So I'm going to go as quickly as I can with this. I had done one of these ahead of time, but after I started this video I've just noticed there's a section that doesn't look as pretty as it could have done. So I'm going to just persevere with it for a couple of minutes. We are 15 minutes into this video already, but we're actually nearly finished the actual card. So it's quite a quick technique to do. I mean, even if you just got a load of put a load of inks down on the mat and spritzed them and picked them up and made your own backing paper like that, you don't have to blend the backing paper. You can do it in so many different ways. Now I've gone all the way around, I'm actually going to hold on to it with a piece of kitchen paper because I don't want to get my fingerprints all over this as well. So I can come in a little bit closer and get all those colours covered over. As I say, if you don't leave it to dry ahead of time, then maybe it would be quite a good idea to use an anti-static bag on it and maybe heat it a little bit to dry it off before you go in with your embossing powder. Because you're putting an ink over the top of this, wherever the embossing powder was sat, it's going to pick that up because it will still heat there. And you're going to see in a minute there's a section here that I had obviously not let dry completely, and it has picked it up. So once you've covered the whole thing, there's I might just go in a little bit darker over here. You're just going to take a piece of kitchen paper, and it's just bog standard kitchen paper, and you're just going to buff over the top of your image. Again, try not to touch it too much. I know you probably have a second piece of kitchen paper there, just to keep my fingers off there, because I don't want to lift that black ink that's all around the edge, or navy blue ink, whatever colour you've picked. Now, as I said, there was a section here, right in there, that still had some embossing powder on. So when I heated it, it picked it up from there. But it's not the end of the world. So I'm just going to try and straighten out my image a little bit. It's got a little bit warped from the... Now, sometimes this ink will just wash straight off my mat, and other times it won't. So we'll just see what happens. If not, oh yeah, we're doing okay so far, so good. So I'm just going to scrub this ink off here really quickly so that we don't spread that all over everything we're now going to do. And dry that off. We're nearly back to being a straight tidy, tidy desk again. Oh, it's not, I can't craft and keep tidy, I don't know about anybody else. But Martin would tell you I don't keep tidy anyway. So here we go. As I said, that little bit extra around the edge makes a huge difference to lifting this card. So we're just going to pop some of our sticky glue on the back here. She says, but it doesn't want to come out of the tube. There we go. And we're going to position that in the centre as best we can. Now, as I said, my paper's still a little bit warped from heating it, so I'm going to try and flatten it down here. If that is the case and you're in a hurry, pop it on foam pads. And that didn't go on straight at all, so we're going to peel that off and try again. In fact, I am going to put it on foam pads just because it's going to annoy me otherwise. I prefer it not to be on foam pads when I'm doing this, but I want the finished card to look lovely for you all. Death by foam pads. So I'll just whip these off here. See, we all change our minds as we're going along. These are the jobs on Current Craft that I miss the presenters doing for us. The little extra jobs that take a couple of minutes out of our demo time that we used to pass to them, but now with the social distancing we can't do that. So we'll try again. We'll just layer this one onto here and try and get it on fairly straight. How are we doing? I think that's fairly straight ish. We're going to pop this onto here. Do you think we can do this on under 25 minutes? We have pretty much done this from start to finish, apart from stopping to let it dry. It's the only bit that you haven't really seen us do. So it is actually quite a nice quick card to do. I would say probably to do your butterfly and your sentiment as well, probably about half an hour, 3/4 of an hour. But it's a really nice card, really enjoyable card to make. I want that to go that way round. And we'll pop that on straight again. There we go. And then, as I said earlier, the pieces, the extra pieces, I've done exactly the same technique and then backed it with some white card. So we've just laid the colour down, stamped with crystal, with the Versamark, and put crystal clear embossing powder on the top, and just matte and layered it. And the same with the butterfly, exactly the same technique. All I've done then is cut her out, him out, her out, it out. Life is too short to cut out those tiny little antennae. If you want to do it, feel free to do it. There is no reason that says you have to though. And again, I'd quite like this sentiment to just stand up proud on here. So just pop some foam pads behind there. And some glue. That just gives you a couple of seconds wiggle room, because these foam pads are not very forgiving. So if you're not happy with where it goes down, you can move it a little bit. And then I'm just going to pop some sticky glue down the centre of our butterfly's body and position that to cover up my little error earlier. Hence I wanted that error on that side of the card. So there is our finished resist technique. The one I saw on YouTube was called Joseph's Coat, which I believe is to do with the multicolours that I used in this. But what's its official technique name? I'm not 100% sure, I'll be honest. But it's pretty, it's a resist technique, and I really enjoyed making it. So we'll pop back over and go through what we have actually used again. I'll just pop that to one side. So we've used our 1 day at a time stamp set. We've used our crystal clear embossing powder. We've used our blending brushes. As I said, remember the blending brushes have a different brush for the different types of ink, not necessarily for the different colours of ink. We've used Distress Oxides in multiple colours. So we have got here Picked Raspberry, Wilted Violet, the brand new Kitsch Flamingo, Mustard Seed, Carved Pumpkin, Peacock Feathers and Twisted Citron. We've also used our sticky glue that comes in the 2 sizes. Probably better set over there. And we've used the Versamark ink. And we have used our Versaclair ink, but whatever dark ink you have will work brilliantly for this. And our finished card. Just whip that one off there, and then we've got a closer look on the finished card. Oh, that way around works better. So, hope you've enjoyed the technique. We will just pop over and have a look at a couple of the other different cards that we've done with this particular stamp. So this one is using the 1 day at a time stamp set, but also in the background there, it's got some circles on there, and that is from our, I think of it off the top of my head, that little extra stamp set I think that came from. And the sentiment is from our retirement set. This one is again just using the 1 day at a time stamp set. And then this one I think was done by Karen, and she's used the hands at the top, just a corner in the corners, just to bring it all together. This one I believe is also done by Karen, and again she hasn't used the whole image on this one, but she has added the butterflies in there as well. This one again, not using the full image as a centerpiece, it's just been parts of, which again looks really, really effective. This one is using mica powders brushed over the top of Versamark ink. So you ink your stamp up and then you press stamp it out onto black cardstock and then brush the mica powders over the top. Our mica powders actually have a fixative in them, so you don't need to fix them. So they should predominantly stay on your stamped image. And last but not least, we have another one using the full image, but it's been cut and lifted from the center. And then obviously around the edge, the full image has been used in different colors. And then we've also got some of the Harlequin from our extra line stamp set. So I think that's everything. I hope you've all enjoyed the video. It's lovely to get back chatting to everybody. We may even well look at doing some Facebook Lives as well as we're going along, to try and get everybody going again after Christmas. And hope everybody's enjoying their crafting, and we will see you all again soon. Take care. Have a lovely day. Bye.